Women of Reddit. What things do men do that frighten you without them even realizing it? Happened few times. I was working late in small market with no one around, and when they come in and ask me if I am not scared to be alone. Well, now I am, thanks. A guy I'm seeing took me out to a baseball game for our first date. It was nice, I didn't get any weird vibes from him at all. After the game, he asked if I wanted to go see some of the spots he likes to go walking. I didn't think much about it until we got there, and I realized he was basically taking me to the woods in the dark. He told me to follow him, and I'm thinking I'm about to get killed, but it turns out he just wanted to show me his favorite place to go on walks and chill because you can see the entire city from there, and at night it looks really pretty. He took me to a couple more trails that night, and I ended up having a great time and forgot that it's pitch black outside and I'm with a guy I've never gone out with before out in nature. Definitely thought I was going to get killed at first though. Wanting to take me somewhere isolated to be just the two of us on the first date. It's okay if we've been hanging out for a while, but not if it's the first time I see you in person. Whenever this happens, I come up with an excuse not to go. I just don't feel safe since I barely know the other person, but the worst part is when they try so hard to convince me to go with them. This makes me feel more and more uncomfortable. Edit. Okay, I've read some of your comments and I think I have to clarify some things. What I intended was that I make up an excuse not to go to that specific isolated place, which means that I actually go to dates and propose to go to public places instead. I've never ghosted anyone, and I've tried to tell truth and make the other person understand that I didn't feel comfortable. Something I've been told many times is, "What do you mean by I don't feel comfortable? Do you think I'm a crazy psychopath who rapes or kills people? Come on, don't say nonsense. Let's go, get in the car." I mean, is this supposed to make me feel safe? By the way they react, it seems like I'm offending them, which is clearly not my intention. That's why I started making up excuses, because they stop insisting only when they know that something bigger is preventing me from going. I'm fully aware of the fact that not everyone has bad intentions, but it's not something I can understand immediately the first time I hang out with someone. Besides, I don't blame those who are simply clueless. My comment was just sharing a personal experience, not a general attack on men. And you can tell by the fact that I used they and the other person instead of he. Both men and women can experience this kind of things, and I welcome everyone's story. For those who commented using not very kind words, please stop trying to make me look like I'm just a paranoid woman who can't tell the truth. And thanks to those who shared their experiences and opinions under what is one of my first comments here on Reddit. I really appreciated all these interactions. Stay safe, y'all. Lol, one dude wanted to take me out sailing on his boat as a first date. I explained I wouldn't be very comfortable with that, and he offered to bring his male friend along. No, that really doesn't make it better. Edit. This is my highest karma comment? Crazy haha, loving all the comments, but just to save yourselves the trouble, Natalie Woods and the implication have already been thoroughly covered. Because of the implication? Dennis. Think about it. She's out in the middle of nowhere with some dude she barely knows. She looks around her, what does she see? Nothing but open ocean. Oh, there's nowhere for me to run. What am I gonna do, say no? Mac. Okay, that seems really dark though. Dennis. No, it's not dark. You're misunderstanding me, bro. Mac. I think I am. Dennis. Yeah, you are. 'Cause if the girl said no, then the answer obviously is no. The thing is that she's not gonna say no, she'd never say no, because of the implication. When I was single I was also super broke, and loved hiking through a nearby nature reserve as it was scenic, and best of all, free. I got ghosted and stood up multiple times, sometimes were when I suggested hiking there as a first date. I never realized how creepy that came off until years later. I was just super broke and liked hiking. Yes. Like the guy who insisted to go on a date with me that involved walking around the forest preserve trails at night alone, just the two of us. Like, no thanks, dude, I've seen Dateline. OMG, I saw a post where a guy was ranting about how girls lie about liking hiking on dating apps because every time he suggests going for a hike on their first date they say no. How can people be this clueless? It gets worse. I saw one get pissed the fuck off when it was pointed out why women don't want to go hiking with a stranger. Apparently we are all paranoid, living in fear and irrational for not being willing to literally risk our life to see if someone is a good man. But if a girl gets murdered in the woods, those same guys go, what an idiot. It's her own fault. Why would she put herself in a position where she was alone with a stranger? She brought it upon herself. I read somewhere that a man's biggest fear when going on a date with a woman he hadn't met before for the first time is that she will be fat and unattractive. A woman's biggest fear is that she'll be murdered. The famous Margaret Atwood quote, "Men are afraid women will laugh at them. Women are afraid men will kill them." I had a dude ask me in his first message to go on a week vacation in Italy in his camper. Never met. I jokingly said, "Oh well, I'm flattered, but that what horror movies are made out of, cold sweat smile." He got so pissed that he insulted me as a Rapunzel in her tower, thinking men are waiting just for me, and blocked me as if I'm the crazy one. Some men just don't get it that stuff like this is not an acceptable, save and or nice first date. My dumbass took my last GF, on our second date, out to my secluded camping property. It's out in the country with a mile of hard road to get in there. Guess I didn't think about it as she was so outgoing and happy to be around me. 2 months later she told me she had been extremely worried the whole time. Lol, not doing that again. Oh man, in college I ran into one of my friend's cousins. We had hung out once before at a concert. He was nice. He asked me if I wanted to grab lunch at the Coney Island nearby, and offered to drive. It was after class. I said yes, and only after I sat down and closed the CR door did I realize I didn't actually know anything about this guy. Then instead of driving to the Coney Island, he finds an empty parking lot and parks the car. At this point my hand is on the door handle, and I'm getting ready to book it. He apologizes and says he forgot his mom had packed him a lunch, and did I want to split a tuna fish sandwich with him. I declined, and we sat in his car while he ate his lunch, and then he dropped me back off at campus. It was bizarre, but made me realize how easily something could have happened. Yep, that happened to me. It was a cop that responded to my 911 call after a rape attempt. He asks me out a few weeks later, and like a fool, I said yes. He picks me up in a windowless van and takes me out to the middle of nowhere in the pitch dark. To make it even worse, he kept singing the whole time we were in the van, saying that people told him he sounds like Smokey Robinson. He did not sound like Smokey Robinson, he was a terrible singer. I was terrified nearly the entire time and practically ran out of his van when he dropped me home. I think I was trying to prove to myself that I was tough and that the rape attempt didn't bother me. I was dumb. What? You made a 911 call about a rape attempt, and then the cop who responded to that 911 call asked you out? The cop who responded to a rape call-out then took you on a date to a secluded area in a sketchy van? I can't even. I've always asked to meet at a restaurant for a first date. You never know what the other person is really like. And yes, we know the call you get during dinner is an escape call. I like going to pastry or coffee shops for first dates. You're not locked into a whole dinner if it's not going well. A girl I met on Tinder wanted me to pick her up at her home on the first date. Girl, you don't know me. What if I'm a serial murderer? Another one wanted to go hiking. I didn't think anything of it back then, but yeah, don't do that. I hope both of them have been safe since then. I'm still amazed years later how many girls from Tinder agreed to just come to my house and drink as a first date. Whenever they fell asleep I always thought like, thank God I'm not insane, you're asleep at a stranger's house. An older dude on a dating site kept pressuring me into letting him take me on his plane, pilot. He was very pushy about it. Nope. I don't know why you're acting so cautious. If I wanted to kill you, I would have already done it. Said to me by a friend of a friend I was meeting because it was his first time in a foreign country. Not taking no for an answer. Especially when they pretend to be jokey about it, but you can clearly tell they're kind of pissed, if that makes sense. Standing too close. How do you know if it's too close? I'll back up half a step, don't match it. Edit. Wow, this blew up. Thank you for the awards, I've never gotten one before. Not going away when I have made it abundantly clear that I am not interested. Years ago I went out with this dude and during snacks and a drink, it was pretty clear we weren't a good match. I politely turned down another round and thanked him. I put my bag over my shoulder and began walking to the bar to pay. Not more than 2 steps from the table the dude yanks my purse strap and says, "What, no hug?" Really taken aback, I hugged him and shuffled quickly to pay and get out of there. As I was paying, I explained to the waitress whom I knew from another job that the dude was super creepy and asked if I could sneak down the back stairs. She let me go through and I rushed down the back stairs and then outside to my car. Breathing a deep sigh, I got out of the parking lot and at the first red light at the corner where the restaurant was the creepy dude crossing the street. Without any hint of emotion, he whipped out a pen and wrote my license plate down on his hand. Never saw him again, that I know of. Pick me up. I'm short and have a slight build. It's not that I'm scared of them trying to prove how strong they are, I'm just terrified of being dropped. Not accepting no or anything you explicitly outline to them. Physical intimidation. Standing too close to me or backing me into a corner and making me feel trapped. It puts me on the defensive so fast. Edit for clarification. I know some men do this intentionally, but many do it unintentionally. Often men don't realize just how uncomfortable or intimidated they can make women feel with their behavior and body language. Sitting right next to me when I don't know you and there are plenty of other seats available. Someone saying "Where's my hug?" or otherwise trying to imply that they are owed physical contact. First date, didn't really know him. Comes to my apartment to pick me up. Invite him in and he proceeds to tell me how he is going to rearrange the furniture when he moves in. Back in the 70s I always picked up hitchhikers. Picked up this guy. He gets in then looks at me and says, "You know you should really be careful about who you pick up." Guy the first was living with. "I know you will never leave me because you can't outrun a bullet." LMAO. I feel like the hitchhiker guy meant well, but the guy you were living with. It's not frightening per se, but it definitely makes me wary because it could lead to situations that are frightening. When talking to a guy, he's super pushy. Like, asking for pics of this and that, and even saying no, they're stilly pushy. All that makes me do is not want to meet him. If he's this pushy via text messaging, how pushy is he going to be in person? If he can't take no now, what are the odds he can take no in person? I once had a guy demand that I rank my sexual partners. I told him no. I told him I can't and I won't. Dude flew off the digital handle. I blocked him right then. I once had a guy demand that I rank my sexual partners. Was he looking for recommendations? As in, did he want to fuck them too? Well, if you like twinks, Jake's your boy, but if you're looking to power bottom, I should introduce you to Doug. Hovering. Don't hover behind me. That's one of the very few things that makes me nervous. I walk in today, a guy on motorcycle pulled up on me 3x. I mean, dude, if I don't want to engage, then don't follow. Continue to pull over to meet me or whatever. Adding. Wanted to add that although my area feels very safe, I don't want to see any vehicle roll up on me, no shoulder. Because on President's Day, a car rolled up on me, windows came down, airsoft guns came out, and they shot me with rock-salt look of triumph. When they emphasize that I don't need to be frightened of them completely unprompted. No easier way of getting me to be on my guard. Blocking the doorway, especially during an argument. X did that and would make himself bigger, spreading his arms etc., so I couldn't leave the room. Asking personal questions that have nothing to do with why you are communicating in the first place. Example. Getting my muffler welded and being asked by the welder, "Where do you live? How long have you lived there? Do you have roommates or is it just you?" And about 30 more personal and invasive questions. So fucking uncomfortable. Being overly familiar with me, in a situation I cannot leave. I used to ride the bus home from work, and my schedule varied very little. This led to me getting on the same bus at 10:20 at night, at the same stop every night. A man who rode the bus the same times, the same nights, took this as me wanting to be his friend. He immediately started asking me super personal questions. The highlights. "You must live around here because you always get off the bus after me." "Who are you texting? I wish I could text you." "Who do you live with? You must work at because you always walk from over there." This is after me telling him I didn't want to talk, and that I didn't want to go out with him. Edit. Whomever reported me to Reddit cares, awesome. I don't need that. I don't appreciate it. The situation I mentioned above is being taken care of by the proper authorities, and has been for the last few months, thankfully. Rare happy ending exception. I saw a guy interrupt a strange woman to ask where she lived and what route she took. She naturally looked terrified and gave a vague answer. He looked mildly unimpressed by her vagueness, then told her where he lived, then over several minutes gave an efficiency report for every method of transport and route combination he had ever used to get home. By the time he got to the 9th one, she realized he was autistic and changed the subject to bicycles. Joking about rape. Just makes me think you have rape on the brain. I met a couple dudes at a bar who invited me and my friend to a party they were headed to. We were trying to find a polite way to turn them down when one said, "Don't worry, we're not going to rape you." Ha, ha. We turned him down flat, and not kindly. Thankfully we were next to the bouncer, and his friend said, "Dude. What the fuck is wrong with you?" My question too. I'm a guy, but I've been told by women that me raising my voice has been very frightening, triggering. For me, the real bombshell was finding out that it was affecting people even if it was done out of excitement, not just anger. Also, if we're making out for the first time and they do something aggressive, like pinning your arms over your head then holding both wrists with one hand, leaving their other hand free. It can be hot as fuck, but if I don't know you that well there's a terrifying moment I wonder what I'm in for. Edit. I think Op's boyfriend may have hit upon the perfect solution for this, see replies. Agreed with all of that. My BF did the arm pinning thing early on but, after he caught my hands, he paused, leaned in close, bit my earlobe and whispered, "This okay?" After he caught my hands, he paused, leaned in close, bit my earlobe and whispered, "This okay?" Sploosh. It's frustrating that so many guys are convinced that checking in like that will kill the mood. Edit. The majority of responses to this comment are women confirming that consent is sexy and men insisting that they know women who say checking for consent is bad. Thank you. I am a dude, and when I say to my male friends that you should just check up on the girl, ask if she's okay. If she says okay, keep going, and after more talking about it, most of them made fun of me saying how I am gonna be a virgin forever and how you're not gonna fuck anything. Glad to see I am not the bad one here. Edit. Thanks for the reassuring replies. I am gonna be a virgin forever and how you're not gonna fuck anything. Take it from a 35-year-old woman. You're going to be drowning in it. Feeling safe is a great aphrodisiac. If there's a way to do it without killing the mood, I think Op's BF figured it out. There we go. Perfect. Going to the bar to get you a drink without you there to watch the bartender pour it. If I don't know you well, I won't accept a drink from your hands. Ever. Straight from the bartender to me. Edit. I want to thank everyone for all the upvotes. I am trying to reply to everyone I can. You're all awesome. Fuck me. I just had a crazy realization. About 4 years ago, I was at a bar with a bunch of friends. Everyone there was really close, with the exception of a woman who was new to our friend group. I worked at the bar, and so I had a really good relationship with the staff. I went to the bar and ordered 6 pints, and brought them on a tray from the bar to our table myself. The new girl asked me to taste her beer for her and tell her what it tasted like. We were all fairly tipsy and I didn't think anything of it. It's fairly common at a bar to give out taster pours and all that. I took a sip without hesitation, and she just nodded and said thank you and grabbed it before I explained what it tasted like. I was a little confused and have been wondering what it was all about, until now. Edit. Another user has pointed out the inefficacy of the tactic of the woman in my post. I feel that it is important to say here that I agree. This is not a foolproof way of determining whether your drink has been spiked. An experienced or smart predator will have a tolerance built up for the drug, or have an antidote on hand. I need to stress that this is not a foolproof tactic. Best idea is to have full accountability of the drink from the bartender's hand to yours, and to maintain 100% accountability of that glass at all times. Do not break the chain of custody. When the bartender hands it to you, you keep an eye on it. If you ever leave it, it's over. Even to a friend. Don't risk it. Edit. My fellow bartenders. Do your due diligence and prevent this kind of fucking barbarity from happening under your care. If someone orders multiple drinks, those drinks go to separate humans. This is actually built into law in a lot of states, so fucking look it up and prevent date rape. If it's not a law in your area, bring it up at a community council meeting and make it a law, and help your place of employment become an arbiter of safe practice for women. Even if it's not a law and you can't be fucked showing up to talk to a bunch of sniveling politicians. At the very least bring it up to your manager and request training for date rape prevention. Yeah, it's pretty crazy to think about some of the things being posted here, as a man. Like, I have never been worried about somebody knocking me out with drugs and raping me in an alleyway. That would be absolutely fucking insane, and I can't imagine what it must feel like to actually have to run through that mindset in public, and to keep that guard up all the time must be exhausting. I was involved in combat in the military, and when I came back, I was constantly on alert in public. I can sort of relate to the feeling of having to watch your back at all times, but I cannot imagine having to literally key up every time I left my house. That shit would be terrible. Like, I got over my issues because I wasn't getting shot at anymore. Women must feel like there are snipers everywhere just waiting for a clean shot. Thanks for all the perspectives in this thread. Mind-blowing. Please do not give me awards. I'm humbled and appreciate the dialogue, everyone. Donate to Deliver Fund instead. See, I always accept the drink but don't drink it. I've found rejecting the drink can lead to a whole thing. When men try to show off their dominance over you or anyone really. Like when you mention something to a guy about another guy and he goes, "I'll kill anyone who talks to you," it's quite frightening really. I'll kill anyone who talks to you. This is straight out of a Wattpad love story. I had a female friend that thought that being told, "I would beat the shit out of any man that talks to you," by a guy that she recently met was cute because he was overprotective. I told her that was a huge red flag. She didn't think so. Surprisingly, it was a red flag. Pretending we're deeper friends than we are, being overly familiar and then acting like they have a right to you. Had a guy do this in college. When I told him he didn't get to dictate who I talked to, he spit his drink in my face. I barely knew him. 3 years ago I matched with a guy on Tinder and agreed to meet up with him. He suggested going to a park, and when I got there it was a heavily wooded area with a trail, and I stupidly followed him into the trail. We walked around for a while, sat on some rocks, then it started getting dark and we decided to head out, but we ended up getting lost and not being able to find the exit, and we stumbled upon a grave-sized hole in the dirt, and at this point it was pitch black and I was thinking it was all a set it up and that I was going to be ambushed. I pointed out the grave-sized hole and he seemed scared too, so I gave him the benefit of the doubt and stayed quiet. We finally found an exit after about an hour of stumbling in pitch-black darkness. We're still dating to this day, and I brought up what a horrible date plan that was, and how it came off the wrong way lol, and he said he didn't realize it at the time. It was a total Curb Your Enthusiasm moment. I was picked up that day, so I didn't have a car with me to back out and drive home, so that was pretty dumb of me too. I've seen men comment on other posts, "Women lie about loving hiking." Whenever I propose it on a first date they say no and just want to do the standard boring cafe or restaurant. Bless them for having no idea that isolated first dates are scary as hell. I'm glad you are still dating your guy and it worked out well for you. The human-sized hole would have freaked me out.